You also have announced already 2 expansion teams for next season, Baltimore and Nashville, and a plan to eventually get to 30 teams. My goodness, that is a very bold plan. What's the timeline on the 30 teams?
Be bold or go home, Sarah. Isn't that what we talk about?
Joining us now, she's the co-founder and commissioner of the Upshot League, a professional women's developmental basketball league that begins play this week. Co-founder and CEO of Generation W, former president of the WNBA. She was an All-American hooper at Queens College and played professionally for all 3 seasons of the Women's Pro Basketball League, the WBL. She was a member of the team that played in the first women's game at Madison Square Garden. It's Donna Orender. Hi, Donna. Thanks for joining us.
Yo, Sarah. Wait, thanks for all that great research. I like that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about that first game at MSG, and I did not know that you were one of the players in it. That's so cool.
Not only was I one of the players, I was the leading scorer of that game. I had a guard, Marianne Crawford Stanley. And she was like, the most celebrated guard in the nation. And I was like a just turned 17-year-old freshman. It was awesome.
Oh, I love it. I actually want to talk about that. What I feel like must be a through line from your experience playing pro to creating this league, because you were an all-star in the WBL. You dropped out of your master's program to get to play pro. This was clearly something very meaningful to you, but the league disbanded in 1981. So you understand what it feels like to want to play and not have an opportunity, which definitely feels like something you're now fixing with this new league. So take me back to that time before we ever get to the Upshot League. Take me back to 1981 and to that disappointment of looking around and saying, where do I put this talent?
We don't have to talk about how long ago this, but you really raised something that's really powerful, because I do remember coming to play basketball, and I played at Queens College, which was at it was an elite team, right? It was a very elite team. My coach, God bless her, she's still alive, Coach Cavallis, just got inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. But I remember getting ready to leave college, and there was no place to play. There was no place to play. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I was 21 years old. I felt like I was just starting to learn the game, and where was I going to take it? And I had a chance to play overseas, and I'm like, oh, probably not. I'm getting old. I remember thinking that, and I probably should get a real job if that's what's going to happen, but I can go to graduate school. And literally out of the blue, my phone rang, and it was my AAU coach, Lamar. And he said, listen, they're starting a women's professional basketball league. Do you want to play? And I couldn't say yes fast enough. And what an experience that was, right? Like what an experience that I had in my life. And you're right. It was incredibly special. And it represented a pinnacle, a sense of achievement, accomplishment that was not available to us. And so I was lucky. I got to play all 3 years. My first year I went to school. I'd go to graduate school in the morning, do my practicum, whatever. And then at night I'd go and practice with our team. We were the New York Stars. And it was a thrill, really.
You played for the Chicago Hustle, which my AAU team was named the Chicago Hustle in honor of that WBL league team.
How cool is that? Yes, I played for the Chicago Hustle.
So we're part of a through line of women's basketball history.
I love that. Yeah. And then of course, as you know, the league went away. I was one of very few players who played all 3 seasons. Again, probably luck of the draw at the time. And then once again, at a very young age, now what do I do? Right? Transition. So yes, I experienced that. And I will say this, another thing that really added to this for me was my son was a Division I basketball player. He played at Cal. He wasn't an NBA player, but he was an excellent, talented player and got the opportunity to play overseas. And I spent a lot of time going overseas to watch him and see how it was done over there. They had Division I, Division II, Division III, Division IV, and every city, and they were little villages, loved their team. And those athletes loved playing for their city. And I said, you know what? There's something beautiful about that. One, I saw the pride in the athletes and this opportunity, if you will, to continue their craft and have their dream to get paid to play. And I saw these communities that were just actually invested in these teams and what it did for the little hustlers like you, Sarah, who got to watch these professional athletes play. So both sides of that really contributed to this idea for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at it from the top down, you're like, we already have a women's pro league. If you look at it from the bottom up, you look at the massive opportunity that disappears for the majority of players as soon as you whittle down to the very small number of players that can play in the W or even overseas in some of these leagues. So we know that women's sports are booming, but we also know there's still so much room for growth compared to the men's side. So when you look around the space, it's a couple of years ago. What was it specifically that you thought was missing that put into your mind the idea of a new league?
Well, one, there was tremendous, and I can't tell you how this both pleases my heart and maybe fixes some of the breaks that it had along the way, that everyone wanted a WNBA team in a time when like I was running around the country trying to put my finger in the dam so that people would keep their teams, right? So that was an amazing thing. Everyone wanted a WNBA team. The strategy became kind of clear. We're going to go with NBA markets. After all, the NBA owners have invested a tremendous amount of money in the WNBA, and they realized that there was a tremendous asset here worthy of investment. And I realize there's so many markets, even at the end of the day. Look at all of our major leagues, if you will, the NHL, you look at the NBA, you look at Major League Baseball. And I'm thinking there's so many wonderful cities and communities around this country that wouldn't have that. And so if when you take both of that, I'm like, whoa. One other thing, I should mention this, is as I was vetting WNBA teams for other people who would call me and then through investment groups that perhaps I would be involved with, I realized that I wasn't going to get a team in my city. And that meant something to me. And was at least that in any short amount of time.
Jacksonville is your city.
Jacksonville, Florida. Right. And remember, I vetted a lot of cities when I was even at the WNBA, shock. Detroit moved to Tulsa. Tulsa moved to Dallas. We started Atlanta. Charlotte, which we now are bringing a team to, which is really just poetic justice, went away. So it's not like I haven't been in cities and understanding what makes them good. And I'm convinced that Jacksonville would be great. But I know that Jacksonville is a great home for the league's headquarters and now for the Jacksonville Waves.
So you look around and you have the experience of being the W president at a different time in women's pro sports. Now you're looking around within the last couple of years, you're getting calls from people asking you, is this a good investment? Do you want to join our expansion bid? All these other things, which gives you a modern look at the landscape. And you realize instead of getting back into the W game, I'm going to start my own game. And I'm going to call it the Upshot League. It's going to be a professional women's basketball league and another place to put all the talent that can't find an opportunity. What's the goal of your league? Are you competing with the W? Are you a G League for the W? Are you just professional basketball in cities in which the W doesn't exist? Like, how do you see what this league is?
Yeah. Well, so first of all, let me just mention my partner, Andy Kaufman, because he's the one who called me because we were working on this women's basketball thing together. It's another guy named Mark Walsh. And Andy, as we went through all the iterations, he calls me one day, he goes, why don't we do this on our own? And I said, I'm in. Absolutely, we should. Because the other thing was, as I was like, I was at a Liberty game and I had coaches from major universities saying, you know what, there's no place for us to train. And I had GMs and team presidents and owners telling us, you know what, we don't know where to get talent. We need a place for our talent. We can put them in. We've seen where teams have gotten to that 7-player level. So I was hearing it basically also from that environment as well. So our goal really is, the Upshot League, our ethos is we believe that everyone deserves a shot to be their best. And so what does that translate to? It translates to opportunity. So let's create opportunity. And the opportunity is for the WNBA as well, right? Like, we're not here to compete with them. Why would we? We're here to support them. We're going to build a fan base for women's basketball. We're going to create great professional women's basketball in markets they would never be in. And, early on, I talked about cross marketing with some of the teams and the owners liked it. They had to shake out of the CBA and wow, what an impact. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see.
Complimentary is great because you get people on board with your teams and your league, and they turn their eye to the rest of the country and maybe a space they haven't deeply invested in or watched before. But I did notice a big name popped up on your Jacksonville Waves squad last week. Former Maryland standout Cheyenne Sellers was drafted by the Valkyries 2 seasons ago, got waived, has had a couple different WNBA training camp looks, but hasn't been able to stick. So now she ends up in a place where people can watch her play regularly in the U.S., someone that they loved who was electric at Maryland. A couple more names folks might remember from the college game. Ayanna Moore, former Notre Dame standout, Asia Durr of Louisville. So you're grabbing some of these players that maybe couldn't stick on a roster in the W. Do you think then that they can get called back up if a W team is in need?
Yeah, sure.
So that can happen mid-season even.
Absolutely. And Renaya Davis, who was just in Seattle camp, and we have Harmony Turner, who just came down. You know what? Isn't that great? Like, it's funny. We didn't grab onto them. They grabbed onto us, right? They called us and said, oh my goodness. Like, we've had players call us and say, we can't thank you enough, which, by the way, warms my heart in a way I can't even express to you, Sarah. Like, when I started doing interviews with some of these players, literally, it would bring me to tears. Like, this is a good thing for a lot of people to do. So I want to say that. So they called us. And if they can go back and get a place in a different, that makes them better, this opportunity, a shot to be their best, yes, why not? Why not? Or maybe they find a home in a community that loves them to greatness, and they just want to stay there and support them and become part of that and still be a professional athlete, right? And still have fans cheer for them and have their families there, and, you know, maybe teach the next generation of young girls about leadership and maybe even the big game of basketball. It's cool.
And get to start every game and play a bunch of minutes, which they might not at the next level, right? Where it feels great to be on a roster, but you just want to hoop, and you're not going to get to hoop nearly as much, maybe when you're playing alongside some others. I want to get to the teams and some of the other format of the league, but since we just touched on it, you know, one of the reasons the G League works is because it's funded by the NBA. So it makes sense the players can go back and forth during the seasons. The Upshot is independent. So how does it benefit the Upshot if they leave midseason for the WNBA?
Well, it's interesting. Like, so we had Renaya Davis. She's a local player in Jacksonville. She did have a dance with the WNBA in her career. She was signed to the team, and lo and behold, Seattle calls. Okay, so she leaves us and goes up to Seattle. You know, last night she gets waived. She comes back. She'll build a fan base here, and that fan base will, as we know, they'll follow these players, and that's a good thing for them. For us, there's another Renaya Davis. I know they're interchangeable, but there's so much talent to come in. I think our fan base will be cheering these women on because that's who we are. We want to give them a shot to be their best. And if their best means taking the next step, great. So be it.
And the W gets players who are playing regularly, consistently, and competitively, and they have an opportunity to grab them mid-season if needed. And in your case, you have the potential publicity that it gives the Upshot League when people ask on their W team, where'd this person come from? And, oh, she was playing in the Upshot League. And that was keeping her ready for this opportunity with us. So there's a little bit of symbiosis there.
Totally. Or even Z Spearman, who just came back from Dallas. You know, she was there and now she's with us. Listen, I'm fans of so many players, like Toronto. I'm fascinated with Toronto. I think what Teresa Resch has done, following Monica Wright, who played when I was the president. Yeah. So I have invested interest in some of these players. But let's just say we have Toronto fan night, and Marina Mabry decides to send us a video and says, "Hello, Jacksonville. I'm up here. You guys do what you're doing. I just want to let you know our fans will feel like they're in the know in a greater women's basketball, world. And isn't that special?
It's all connected then. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so let's start with the 4 teams that you're beginning this Upshot League with. Jacksonville Waves, Savannah Steel, Charlotte Crown, Greensboro Groove. So why the focus on the southern cities? Why did you want to start down there?
Well, that goes back to my partner, Andy. One of the reasons that he was such a great partner is people think, oh yeah, we're just going to start a league. Well, what do you need to start a league? You need arenas, and you need leases. And you need leases with dates that work, and you need leases that are affordable. And Andy started with a base of minor league hockey teams. He started with the Jacksonville Icemen and the Savannah Ghost Pirates and the Greensboro Gargoyles, and the Charlotte, the AHL team up there, the Charlotte Checkers, which have been around for 20 years. So, and he had teams on the ground. He had marketing and selling teams on the ground already. So every time I hear a thing, oh, we're going to start a new league, I'm like, okay, well, good luck to you. We hope you can be successful. But at the same time, we're already plugged in. And I thought that was a tremendous advantage. And so that's why we started with those 4 teams. And of course, they lend themselves to a new emerging league that wants to manage expenses, looking to break even or even cash flow in their first year for their investors. And so, travel is managed and other items that would add to the cost of a league.
And it's markets that don't have a ton of other teams. So you're going to try to be in places that are hungry for women's basketball, that don't have the options that some of the bigger markets do. You also have announced already 2 expansion teams for next season, Baltimore and Nashville, and a plan to eventually get to 30 teams My goodness, that is a very bold plan. What's the timeline on the 30 teams?
Be bold or go home, Sarah. Isn't that what we talk about? Why not? Why not? So I will say this: we're looking forward to Baltimore. We're looking forward to Nashville. I would venture to say this summer we could be announcing 2 more teams in the next 3 months, 6 months, 2 more. One perhaps for 27, one definitely for 28. We've got investors in the pipeline and leases that we're potentially looking at for another 10 plus teams. So what I love is there's real interest, right? Every day you're hearing about people wanting to invest in women's sports. We're not only offering them an excellent competitive product, but we're also offering them a really viable investment with a potential return sooner rather than later because of the way our deals are structured. And I like that. I really do like that. Everybody's a winner.
So you mentioned your partnership with Andy Kaufman and Zoyer Sports. You also have 90 partners, $40 million invested. You've got some pretty big name advisors and investors that include Tamika Catching, Cheryl Miller, and Myers Drysdale. So this is something that you are hoping that you've built the back end for to exist for a couple of years, but you also do think maybe revenue right in year one based on the way that his minor league hockey teams have thrived in these spaces already.
Yes, we do. Oh, I want to add Muriel Page. She's in the process of becoming an advisor. She was also one of my players.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And there's a couple more that we'll be announcing soon. Yes, I do think so. We'll see. The sponsorship's been strong. And listen, people how to do this, having been in sports and even in the golf world, it's great to sell on the promise, but generally the promise is built on something they've seen. When you're selling on the promise and it's not what people have seen, they're a little more tentative. And so while a lot of the big, sponsors in the world of women's basketball be like, we love what you're doing. We love what you're doing. We love what you're doing. And then, that without saying is, show us a little more about what you're doing.
Right. And you're going to get the chance starting very soon.
Exactly. And then from there, I think we'll grow together because there's a community element to this, Sarah, that people are really loving. We're truly on the ground with communities in a way that brands really want to be. And so being able to deliver that is another strong asset of the work that we're doing.
So I mentioned a couple players you pulled from recent WNBA rosters where they were waived. You also had tryouts in a couple places. Final rosters were due on Friday. So 11 players per team. Those players are in theory locked in for the full season, but they are allowed to leave for those W opportunities or certain opportunities if they come up. And you've got a couple developmental players waiting for injury,
yes.
or in case of a player getting called up.
Okay, don't say waiting for injury, but yes, they're next up, if you will. In the Upshot League, they're next up.
Yes, in case of injury.
Okay, there you go. Better said.
So how many players were found or recruited between the tryouts and that versus players who came to you?
How many did we go out and, I would say this, our coaches since the moment, and we hired them a year ago, August, just so you know. They're our full-time employees. We believe in investing in these coaches in terms of building not only their on-court skills, but their off-court and business acumen. They have been working their networks for quite a long time. So I would say maybe 50-50, maybe 50-50.
Yeah. You currently have up on the website that the teams are being built, but I know you've got some of the big names posted and some of them joined a press conference that you had last week. So when are the official full rosters going to be made public?
If you check your email, it should be in there right now. Sorry, it overlaps this, whatever, but you should have them in there right now.
Okay, great. Tell us about player benefits. How much are players making? What's covered? Did they get housing? What about health insurance? All that stuff.
Oh, well, we give them a paycheck. We're not going to talk about how much of a paycheck, but it's enough for them to be willing to play. They get really nice housing, of which we cover, and they also get benefits, health benefits. So the package is a pretty nice package, all in all.
And you don't want to tell us the money because different players are making a different amount, or because it's...
They are. And they are. There is, there's a cap. I don't even know what the cap is to tell you at the moment, but there's a budget that each coach has to spend, and they can choose to spend it as they see. There's some parameters around that. But all in all, nobody said we're not coming because of the money or the package. They said, wow, that's pretty good. Yeah. Matter of fact, someone just called me and said, wow, players are talking about how nice the housing is. And I'm like, okay, that's good.
Nice.
I like that.
And then the health insurance, you said, is part of their package too, to have them come and be.
It is.
Like, I think one of the things we talk about with these young nascent professional leagues for women is things like whether there'll be trainers on site for injury, what it looks like if they get in, all that stuff.
So I'm really proud to say that in Jacksonville, because it's where I live, the Mayo Clinic is our sports medicine partner.
Great.
That's it's Novant Health in Charlotte, which is one of the big caretakers there. So I think we've done well here in terms of, I've said this before, and I want to love our players, and I say that in quite a maternal way, as opposed to this hardcore businesswoman. To greatness, Sarah. Like, you want to be in a place that wants you, right, and gives you the opportunity to do what you do best. I can't make you do your best, but I can give you a place where it feels good to try. With Taj McWilliams Franklin here, and we all know Taj's history and how much she means to the game and her work on behalf of the WNBA and its players.
2-time W champ, 6-time All-Star.
These are things that are really important to us, and how we want to be seen and show up in the world.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think it's really hard for nascent leagues to be able to have the investment to hit the ground running. And you're obviously not going to be on the same level with teams that have decades of experience, but it is important to make sure that it's professionalized in a way that's safe for players and sets them up for success. Like you said, you want to love them into being their best, but you also have to have, things in writing that will make sure that if something does happen, injury or otherwise, that they have agency. What we've seen in women's sports, unfortunately, too much is if there is a power dynamic that doesn't allow the players to feel empowered in whatever space they're in, that can lead to really problematic issues, toxicity or abuse or otherwise. And so, yes, to the idea and the mindset being a positive one and one that's rooted in love. And of course, also having everything buttoned up enough so that they feel like they're showing up somewhere that's got their back. That balance is so key, especially across the women's space,
Exactly. And I will say, even during the contracts, we got feedback from agents, and I would call up one and say, tell me what doesn't sound or feel right, and what would you like it to say? And they gave me the feedback, and we employed it, to the degree that you can in the business structure we had, and they came back and said, this is good. We're ready to go. And so I really, those little, that's good. That's good stuff.
You're going to have a 34-game season, championship weekend, August 28th to 30th, and the games Wednesday through Sunday, right? So you're trying to hit people on mostly weekends and nights. Yeah.
You coming? I just want to know what game you're coming. I want to know what game you're coming to, Sarah. I'm sending you your schedule.
I got to check the schedule.
No, come on. You got to do that. I want to know. Maybe, and you heard about Shaq, right? You heard that Shaq's doing our uniforms, right? The dunk man.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
How cool is that, right? He awesome. Has his own label. He has his own label. And we ended up getting connected, and conversations just went really quickly. And I'm like, okay, so let's see what you got. And of course, I have to bring Taj in because she's like, oh, we got to know the fabric. Of course we do. And they showed up big time. The quality of the designs, their innovation. And so we're really excited to debut in the Dunkman attire.
That's awesome.
I know.
So how will folks watch the players in those jerseys and maybe Shaq courtside if you can lure them over?
I have lured him over. We don't know the date, but when we do, I'll let you know. We have lured him over for sure. And we don't have to lure too hard. He really wants to come. He's a big fan, which is great. So we're launching our YouTube channel as we speak. And so every game will be streamed on YouTube. We have a 3-prong kind of approach. We have streaming basic. We have over the air. In each of the local markets, we have a package in each of them. And I love all of our over-the-air broadcasts. For me, it's like Back to the Future, having done media negotiations for a lot of my career. So it's really fun. And then on top of that, we will be announcing in 2 days a National League partner, which will kind of put us beside the big girls, if you will. And I'm really excited about that. And then, of course, we'll augment with social, which we're still developing, but we're out there. And people will know we're here and they can find us. And that's the most important thing.
Season openers, Jacksonville Waves hosting the Charlotte Crown, Greensboro Groove hosting the Savannah Steel. What can folks expect from the season openers?
A lot of excitement, right? That's what I'm hearing. I'm just feeling a lot of enthusiasm. I believe Greensboro is already sold out. I had Yeah, I had Mayor Mary Kay. She called me the other day, wanted to know if I was okay. I said, I'm just launching a league. You're running a city. She goes, I know, but I am so excited. I mean, come on. That is so fantastic. And so I'll meet her up there on the 16th. And here in Jacksonville, we will be sold out as well. And people are talking, and that's what you want. Everyone's talking about it. They want to be there. And I think that's great. The players, they'll get high quality basketball. And I always worry about the first game because, it takes a little while to get some mojo and rhythm together. I saw that watching some of the WNBA teams this weekend. But it's not because of the talent. It's just a question of having the time. We even added a week of training camp just so the players can have more time to get, to play with each other. So it's going to be great.
Yeah, we know some of these players just coming off W rosters and heading over to join these teams. So these Friday, Saturday games will be early, but a great fun look at some of the talent people, remember from college and have been playing overseas and are excited to be playing here, watching the press conference that y'all did via YouTube the other day. It was really nice to hear from the players talking about how excited they are for family to be able to come. When you play overseas, it's hard to get folks to come over and see all the time. And to your point, there's something very special about playing in small markets and the fans having access to the players that they're watching. And really seeing an opportunity for the future self in the people playing in their backyard. Okay, last question for you. What does an Upshot League look like in 10 years? What does success look like to you 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I think we'll fulfill our 30-team mission, I believe. Our teams will be professionally run. They'll be financially successful. And will be a great destination for all the athletes that the WNBA is now truly inspiring to play. I mean, listen, I just have to share this. I remember Lisa Leslie telling me early on that I don't want my daughter to play women's basketball. There's not enough money. She'll be a tennis player. I think her daughter's on the way to being a tennis player. Right? Moms are not going to be saying that now. So I think there's going to be such growth in terms of the desire to play women's professional basketball, women's basketball. So I just see us as being a desired and targeted destination for the elite players of the world. And I think that's going to be pretty exciting. And we will be connected to the WNBA in the way that makes sense for both of us. And I think that will reveal itself in time. I always like, sometimes you just don't know. And we're willing to find out.
I mean, we've been talking about the need for some sort of established G League type league for the W for some time now. And it'd be great if that's what this grew into and became really the place for all the talent to go and keep playing. Donna, thanks so much for the time and good luck getting everything ready and good luck this weekend with the openers.
Hey, Sarah, it is great to talk to you. You are special. I think that.
Thank you.
I really appreciate spending the time. And listen, I'll see you this summer.
Okay. I love an excuse to get down to the South.